name is Dennis Levin. I'm a retired pastor here at Queen Street United Methodist Church in downtown Kinston, North Carolina. Welcome to our weekly Bible study. I'm back. And yesterday or last week I was not here, so if you missed something, you didn't. But we welcome everybody who's watching us online. If you like what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like what I'm saying, just let me know in an email or something. But we are so glad to have you with us. And today's study is beginning at chapter 28 of 1 Samuel. And this is a really interesting chapter. Hopefully we'll have some discussion about this because it's a very controversial matter. Okay, chapter 28. In those days the Philistines gathered their forces for war to fight against Israel. Achish said to David, he's the king of the Philistines, said to David, "You know, of course, that you and your men are to go out with me in the army." David said to Achish, I love how he's hedging this, okay? David said to Achish, "Very well, then you shall know what your servants can do." He didn't say, "Oh yeah, I'll support you." He said, "You'll find out what we'll do." Okay? Achish said to David, "Very well, I will make you my bodyguard for life." Okay. Now, what's happening here? David has gone to the Philistines for protection. And while he's been there, he's been up to a lot of mischief, and he's been doing things actually to undermine the Philistines and their alliances with non-Israelite countries. And David has not actually been loyal to Achish because he's claimed that he's been raiding Israelite towns and Judean towns. And the fact is that he has not. He's simply gone into Gentile towns and raided them and killed every man, woman, and child, dog, cat, whatever, so that there would be no witnesses to come back to King Achish and make a complaint. So Achish thinks, because David says, "I've been raiding Judean towns," that David has ruined his reputation with his homeland, and that now he's got a Judean ally, and he really trusts David, so he's going to make him his bodyguard for life. Well, not everybody agrees with the king. We'll get into what David was actually going to do and what he ended up doing. Okay, but it shifts gears now. Okay, now Samuel had died, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in Ramah, his own city. Saul had expelled the mediums and the wizards from the land. Now, who are these people? Okay, mediums and wizards are the practitioners of the occult. Okay, they're not necessarily associated with a particular pagan god. These are people who have pledged themselves to the darker spiritual elements. Okay? And they're just like fortune tellers today. A lot of them are phony. Okay? Some of them are actually not. Some people are practitioners of this because they can make a buck at it. Some people are practitioners of this because they have actually made a commitment to Satan. And these are the people who've made a commitment to Satan. That commitment, the pagan gods are, from what we understand finally in the Bible, they finally in the Bible came to the conclusion that the pagan gods are actually demonic. Okay? But at this time, you don't see that they're allied with a priestess of Baal or something like that. Okay, so he's expelled the mediums and the wizards. Unlike Christians later on, who killed the mediums and wizards, he has expelled them. All right. The Philistines assembled and came and encamped in Shunem. Saul gathered all Israel, and they encamped in Gilboa. When Saul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. When Saul inquired of the Lord did not answer him, not by dreams, not by Urim, or by the prophet. So he was using sacred objects to try and get a word from the Lord. Okay? And the prophets didn't have anything to tell him. Then Saul said to his servant, "Seek out for me a woman who is a medium, so that I may go to her and inquire of her." His servant said to him, "There is a medium at Endor." So they knew of one that hadn't left. Okay? What does a medium do? A medium is somebody who is a conjurer of the dead. And a medium is one who allows the dead to speak to somebody who is alive. So either the medium takes on the voice of the person who is from beyond, or gets the person from beyond to make some kind of a signal.
They use a Ouija board.
They use a Ouija board sometimes. Yes, actually.
You've been to one?
Sometimes remember being young and using a
Oh,
Ouija
yes.
board.
Okay, well, actually, that Ouija board is a gateway. And if you're using a Ouija board to find things out, you have just opened the door to all kinds of demonic forces, because there are objects that are used in the occult. Okay, Ouija board is one of them. Tarot cards are another.
Yeah.
Okay, crystal balls, things like that. These objects are like the Urim that Saul, except they're not sacred. They are demonic, and they can open a door to your home and to your loved ones. And I've seen situations where family will use a Ouija board, and a familiar spirit will come in and start working with their kids. It happens. Okay, so be very careful about that. Everybody thinks a Ouija board is a fun thing. It's not. Okay. Okay, so Saul disguised himself and put on other clothes and went there, and he and 2 men with him. They came to the woman by night, and he said, "Consult a spirit for me and bring up for me the one whom I name to you." The woman said to him, "Surely you know what Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the wizards from the land. Why then are you laying a snare for my life to bring about my death?" She's crafty, and when I was studying the KGB, they would do this. They would have one of their agents come up to somebody who was highly placed in the government and try to compromise them, or they especially would come up to a KGB agent and do things to try and compromise that agent. Like, for instance, they would go to an agent's apartment or home, and they would leave a Bible in front of the door. And if the agent took the Bible, then they'd be up for further investigation. So, you know, she's suspecting a trap, and well, she should.
She should, because then it's failed.
Yeah,
So she shouldn't be doing what she's doing.
that's right. And
Saul's the one that did it.
yeah, and a lot of people don't know that when they go to a foreign country, especially a country that's ruled by a dictatorship of some sort, that they will do things, if they think that you're worthwhile, they will do things to target you, to compromise you. And you know, they will have somebody come up and say, "I need you to get this note to the American embassy," or something like that. And as soon as you do that, you become an agent, and they can arrest you. So they, you know, intelligence agents are always trying to do this. And the Russians especially, and the Chinese, try to entice you by getting you to do something that is illegal or immoral. Okay? American agents tend to work a different way. They tend to try and recruit people who are disaffected with their government already. And maybe the government has executed one of their relatives or something like that. And they become willing to work for the United States. Generally speaking, we don't try to compromise people with prostitutes or, you know, things like that. Other countries do. All right. That's a general rule, by the way. I'm just saying, generally. Okay. But Saul swore by the Lord, to her by the Lord, as the Lord lives, no punishment shall come to you for this thing. Then the woman said, whom shall I bring up for you? He answered, bring up Samuel for me. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice, and the woman said to Saul, why have you deceived me? You are Saul. Samuel blew his cover. Okay. The king said to her, have no fear, what do you see? The woman said to Saul, I see a divine being coming up out of the ground. He said to her, what is his appearance? She said, an old man is coming up, he is wrapped in a robe. So Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he bowed with his face to the ground and did obeisance. All right, so he's still trying to make it up with Samuel. Okay?
Yeah, but he's lost favor with God, so he's gone to,
Sheol. Back then it was Sheol. Okay?
well, Samuel has.
Samuel
But
has.
Saul has lost favor with God.
Yes.
So now he's using the medium to
Bring Samuel back.
bring Samuel back.
Because he can't get anything from his own prophets. Okay? This prophet thing isn't working for him anymore. So, I mean, Samuel never brings good news. Okay?
But Saul expelled him.
Yes.
And
So
now
he's
he's
going
going to him.
Now he's
Right.
going to them. So he has
Exactly.
compromised himself. Okay?
Because he's lost favor with God.
Yes.
He's got to find a way to help himself out without using God.
Okay, well, okay. Okay, yeah. Let's take a look at Saul. I'm not excusing what he's doing here.
Okay.
Okay, please understand that, because he absolutely should not do this. Okay? But he's the head of state. He is the head of the military. He's up against a vastly superior force. He knows that with the army he has, he can't defeat the Philistines. He needs what Israel has always relied on, divine help, in order to defeat a larger enemy. Okay? He can't get a word from God. But he needs a word. He needs to know something, because he's the guy who has to make the decision for the country, for the military. And he needs some guidance, and he's not getting any.
He's not getting man advice.
He's not getting divine advice.
I know, he's not getting advice at all, but he needs the divine advice and not the advice of a man.
If I was head of state, and my biggest weapon, ally, is God, I want to know, like Joshua asked, are you on our side or the other? Okay? So he doesn't know, he needs guidance. It is part of his responsibility to find these things out. Okay? And he's desperate to find these things out. So he goes to a medium and brings up Samuel, who knows what's going on. Okay, at least he used to. Okay, now here's the question for us. You know, you talk to people, and you might ask, you know, do you really believe that there are witches? Of course, there's been so much bogus stuff that's happened in witch hunting down through the ages that we have put this into the category of superstition, so that we don't come to doing these kinds of horrible things again against people that we suspect are witches. Okay? Also, people will ask you, do you believe in ghosts? All right? Well, then ask them if they believe the Bible. Because if they believe the Bible, then they do believe in witches, and they do believe in ghosts. Because that's what the Bible says, am I right? This is it. Okay, clear example. Is this an editorial thing? I don't think it is. I think that Saul actually did this. And I think what a lot of people fail to realize, because there's so much chicanery that goes on, that people say, no, I don't believe in witches, I don't believe in ghosts. Okay. I think Satan allows a lot of chicanery to take place so that people will not suspect about the real thing. But there are witches.
Dennis, when, this has been years ago.
Yeah.
Remember the youth group? We had a SBI agent or somebody come speak to us about the Wiccan
Yeah.
religion. Oh my gosh, I mean, they were talking about child sacrifice, and I will never forget all the things they said that they do. And they said it runs all the way up to judges and legislators, and I mean, it was unbelievable.
Anybody who doesn't think that evil, pure evil,
Oh, yeah.
has not infiltrated the halls of power. And I'm not saying all legislators are doing this by any
Certainly
means,
not.
but they're definitely, you look at the behaviors of, like, for instance, October 7th, and you look at October 7th, or you look at the Holocaust, and how can you say that was not superhuman evil going on? Okay? That goes beyond, I just don't like these people. Okay? The horrible things that they were doing. I was listening to a historian talk about what actual Native American culture was like before the Europeans came. And it was phenomenally evil. Phenomenally evil. They were, routinely torturing people, routinely cannibalism, all kinds of things that were taking place in Native American culture. And the idea that they were all Pocahontas and at peace with the nature and all of that, I'm sorry, it was a brutal thing. When the Pilgrims finally encountered an Indian war, okay, that's what sparked the witch hunting in the Pilgrim community, because they believed that the Indians were so demonic in the way that they were behaving that they thought evil is infiltrating our community. And I'm not excusing what they did by any means, but they had not encountered, when Europeans came to this country, they had not encountered on a mass scale the kind of brutality that took place in Native American wars. And essentially, if you want to know about the Indians that made peace with the settlers, they made peace with the settlers because the settlers had better weapons, and they wanted to use them against different tribes. It was a warrior culture. You see Native American costumes and everything, and some of the masks that they have.
Yeah.
They don't look really
They're
peaceful
scary,
masks.
yeah.
They're scary as hell. And
But do you think so today, that they are the same way the Native Americans were back in those days?
I think what they're trying to do is to regain, because a lot of the people who are dancing around in Native American cultures have really converted to Christianity, and they're just trying to retain their cultural heritage. Okay, and there's some legitimacy in that, but the actual religion and shaman and stuff that was going on in Native American culture, you take a look at the way that they raided each other's tribes, and it was horrible. Okay, I mean, we had the Iroquois in New York, and the Iroquois tortured people for days, just for sport, and then ate them. I mean, it was, there are demonic things going on, and I'm not trying to actually demonize the Native Americans. Okay, this is the culture they had. This is the religion that they knew. In their sense of morality about these things were entirely different from our senses of morality.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it was then.
Yes.
You can, I mean, you know, and, I mean, look at this.
Yes.
All these Philistines, Amalekites, I mean, they're doing the same thing.
Yes.
Same thing the Indians did. They had no prisons, so the only thing to do was kill them.
Yeah.
Now, and when they start talking about killing the cattle and the children and all this, I mean, that can't be any different than what you're saying the Indians.
It is not. It is not. And once again, I say that comes from a warrior mentality. When you have a warrior culture, these are the things that happen. I have much less excuse for what went on in Christian Nazi Germany than I do for the Native Americans.
Because it's a culture that's grown.
Correct.
Yeah.
Society has
We've
grown,
changed. from
We have
the-
changed. We have-
When we think
yes.
of the word native,
Yes.
But then you see the captive Indian girls, the Catholic nuns beating the Indian out of them.
Yes. Yes. And you wonder, why would they do that? Why were they so intense about it? Well, it's that in the Indian Wars, they saw the demonic influence in the way that the Indians treated their captives. And the nuns were trying to Christianize them. They were doing it crudely.
When was that? I've never
oh,
heard
don't you
that.
remember they would take
Yeah,
Indians
they would
from
take
their
the
tribes
kids.
and
Back
they
in
put
the,
them in-
what, 1700s?
Yes.
Mercifully, yes.
And we
I never
criticize
heard
that heavily,
Yeah,
but we're not living with relatives who tried to be settlers, you know, in the Western Territories and who were attacked by Indians, okay? The real problem that you run into with stuff like this is that if you're up against an enemy like that, you have a tendency to emulate what your enemy is doing. And that was a problem during the Indian Wars. But Europeans have been absolutely as brutal. I mean, the Spanish Inquisition, nice Christian people doing that to Jews and to other Christians. You know, brutality in history is not relegated to a singular culture. It has been pervasive throughout human history.
I mean, we see it today.
Yes, we do.
We
We
just
see it
don't see it
today.
in mass numbers.
Well, actually, we do. If you go
Well-
to Iran, you're going to see it in mass numbers.
Well, I'm talking about even in America.
Uh,
We see brutality all the time.
Yes, we do.
It's just, it's not mass brutality.
We as a culture have rejected that within our culture. Okay? We don't consider those things legal
Right.
or moral. Okay? So that kind of activity is condemned legally and culturally in this country. And if we catch people doing it, we put them in prison and sometimes to death.
As we should.
As we should.
Right.
As we should.
But there are still people that see that brutality as okay.
Yes, and the thing that I hate about it, most of the time when I was growing up, when somebody did that sort of thing, it was a criminal act,
Right.
okay? When you see that sort of thing happening today, very often it's an ideological act. And that's the thing that scares me the most, is you see this ideology coming in that has had a long history of annihilating people just because they thought differently, or they looked different, you know, or had a slightly different culture. And when you start seeing this when you see this brutality taking place because of an ideology, that ideology is demonic.
Well, what about the military side of it, waterboarding and cutting a finger off first, one finger,
Yeah,
and then another finger
that is,
to get.
I'm not saying it
information.
didn't, I'm not saying that didn't happen, because I know that it did. And I know that there were things told to me about what we were doing in Vietnam to interrogate people. But those were violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and they are violations of US law. Okay? Actually, the techniques that we use for interrogation that do not involve torture are, we get, the information that we get is much more authentic, much more reliable. Okay? You have people that you can torture all day long and they're not going to give you anything. The way we got most of our information from the Germans and the Japanese was when we took them prisoner, we fed them, clothed them, put them to useful work. If they were officers, very often we would billet them in very nice hotels. Our prisoner of war camps had included very nice hotels, especially for submarine commanders. And then they would talk to each other and we would bug the room. But we gave them really good meals, really good facilities and stuff like that. We treated them actually better than we treated criminal prisoners in our country. And in the South, we treated them a lot better than we treated black people. So, if you're looking for authentic intelligence, don't go torturing people because they'll tell you anything you want to hear. You know, it's just not a viable technique. And I'm not saying it doesn't work from time to time, but generally speaking, it doesn't work. So, but there are demonic forces. Look for the behaviors in demonic societies and cultures and senses of morality, things that involve a tremendous amount of abuse, cheating, lying. If these things are ingrained and incorporated into the society and the culture, then there's a demonic element in the culture. Okay? One of the things that we look for, like in law enforcement and stuff like that, is, I'm not saying it's not abused and stuff, but we really want the truth. If we're going to go to court, we want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We don't want what you said under torture. Okay?
If I was being tortured, I'd tell them whatever they want to hear too.
There you go. There you go.
Early on.
Early on. You know.
Save your fingers.
It was so bad in the Indian Wars that, generally speaking, if you were in the military and you were fighting Indians, you kept one bullet for yourself. All right. So Samuel says to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" Saul answered, "I am in great distress, for the Philistines are warring against me, and God has turned away from me and answers me no more, either by prophets or by dreams. So I have summoned you to tell me what I should do." Samuel said, "Why then do you ask me, since the Lord has turned from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done to you just as he spoke by me, for the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David." Okay? Finally, this is the first time, I think, that Samuel tells him that he should have turned everything over to David. He always said he was giving it to someone else, someone better suited than you. Okay?
But Saul knew that because God had basically had told him, "You've lost favor, and nobody in your family is going to take
Yeah.
over when you're dead." And Saul hadn't have enough sense to know. I mean, he knew it was David. I mean,
Yeah, he knew it was David. Sure.
So did he need Samuel to tell him that?
No, but Samuel finally did. Okay, now we're naming it. Now we're naming it. Okay, and why is this in here? Well, it is written by David's scribes to once again reinforce the legitimacy of his monarchy. I'm not saying it's not true,
Okay,
but that's why it got into the text.
Well, it's because somebody other than David chose to put it in the text.
Not necessarily. David's paying for the script.
Yeah, but this is put together after David.
No.
The actual text in the Bible was not put together when David was still alive.
Most of what you have written about David was written by David.
Right, I agree with you there. I agree with you there, but somebody else has taken what David has written,
Yes,
chosen what's going to be included here.
as I have always said, the people who wrote this were not writing the Bible.
Right, exactly.
Okay? That was determined much later. About, as far as the canonization process, it was, 200 years after Christ. So,
So David didn't have any control over what part of his writing
was going to get in the
was going to
Bible.
be in the Bible.
No, he didn't. But then he wasn't thinking that way.
He was keeping a journal.
He was, yes, on a government server.
Well, that gets you in trouble, won't it?
Well, the thing is, what gets preserved? What gets preserved are official writings.
And thank goodness we have them.
Oh, I'm glad, yes. Or we wouldn't have had this
Right,
thing.
exactly.
So I'm glad it's here, and I'm glad he wrote it down, or had it written down. But once again, understand the motive for incorporating this sort of thing into the text. The dead Samuel tells him, you've had it, okay, and David's the guy. Because you did not obey the voice of the Lord, did not carry out his fierce wrath against Amalek, therefore the Lord has done this thing to you today. Why is Saul abandoned? He's abandoned because he didn't commit genocide like God said to. Okay? And who's writing that? Somebody who's committed genocide everywhere he went. What does this do? Two things. It legitimizes the monarchy under David, okay? And it also legitimizes genocide in the name of the Lord, which every genocide is. Moreover, the Lord will give Israel along with you into the hands of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons shall be with me. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. Okay, now this is kind of interesting because at this point in Israel's history, they do not have a concept, a sophisticated concept of life after death. Okay, they do not have a concept of a heaven and hell. They have a concept of Sheol, the place where the dead people go. Okay, it's not a matter of judgment; it's a matter of
A place.
place. Okay, Israel has a very primitive idea of what life is after death, and they consider it to be a place of rest, shadows, a place where people aren't bothered anymore. Okay? It's somewhere in the earth. Okay? But they don't think of it in terms of heaven and hell, life after death. They don't have that concept. Okay? So if Samuel is being brought up from there, he's being brought up from his rest. Saul and his kids are going to go to Sheol with Samuel. It is, if Samuel was the godly man and went to heaven, then Saul and his kids would have gone to hell, well, especially Saul. But there is not that differentiation. They all go to the place of the dead. Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground with fear because of the words of Samuel, and there was no strength in him, for he had eaten nothing all day and all night. The woman came to Saul, and when she saw that he was terrified, she said to him, "Your servant has listened to you. I have taken my life in my hand and have listened to what you have said to me. Now therefore you also listen to your servant. Let me set a morsel of bread before you. Eat that you may have strength when you go on your way." He refused. "I will not eat." But his servants, together with the woman, urged him, and he listened to their words. She got up from the ground and sat on the bed. He got up and sat on the bed. Now the woman had a fatted calf in the house. She quickly slaughtered it, took 4 kneaded flour, kneaded it, baked unleavened cakes. She put them before Saul and his servants, and they ate. Then they rose and went away that night. She's not a witch. She's called a witch, but she's nicer than witches are.
He makes bread.
Okay? All right, so anyway, that's chapter 28, and we'll see what happens in 29. We are coming down to the last gasp of 1 Samuel, and it's some interesting things that happen once we get past this story, but things are not going to work out well for Saul, as you can imagine, and things really don't work out that well for David either. But we're going to see some interesting maneuvering taking place. So, see you next week. God bless you. Have a great time. And study this some more. If you like what we're doing here, you could subscribe to it, give me a thumbs up, or don't. and we'll continue the discussion. If you got any questions or comments or snide remarks, please send them to me. I appreciate it. Talk to you later.